During her 33-year career at the United States Department of Agriculture, Isabelle Kelley helped design and implement food nutrition programs that have fed hundreds of millions of people across the country over the past 5 decades. As the principal author of the United States Food Stamp Act of 1964 and the first director of the U.S. Food Stamp Program, Kelley was ahead of her time in recognizing that feeding the hungry was a basic requirement to advancing society.
I really am in awe of the accomplishments of Isabelle Kelley. I didn't know her, and quite honestly didn't know anything about her. I've spent the last several years of my career in the Congress focused in on child nutrition programs, on a school lunch program, on food stamps, and then to read about a woman of such stature, such a pioneer, a heroine, who really is responsible in so many ways for the programs that we have today. It really is such a tribute and an honor for me to be able to recognize her accomplishments.
Isabelle was born in 1917 in Ellington, Connecticut. Her father, my grandfather, and his brother were tobacco farmers. After the family moved from Ellington, they came to Simsbury.
After graduating from Simsbury High School, Isabelle attended what is now the University of Connecticut, graduating in 1938 with a degree in economics. Isabelle went on to earn her master's degree in economics from Iowa State University and began her career at the U.S. Department of Agriculture in 1940.
During that period, agriculture traditionally has been a man's department. It's not one that normally that welcomes minorities. And I think she probably had some difficult times during that period.
One of Isabelle Kelley's first assignments at the USDA was to administer the Penny Milk Program, which provided low-cost milk to children at school.
Well, one of the first things I remember about Isabelle, and it goes back to the time that I was in grammar school, and she came home on one of her frequent trips, and out of the blue she just asked me, "How much do you pay for a pint of milk at school?" And I said, "We pay 9 cents." And she just kind of shook her head and said, that's much too high, you shouldn't be paying that much. And I never gave it another thought. And about 3 weeks later, the price of milk in the Simsbury school system dropped from 9 cents to 6 cents. So that was the first inkling I had that there was something special about her working in Washington.
Following the success of the school milk program, Kelley helped launch the nation's first school lunch program in 1946, which provided reduced-cost, nutritious lunches to the country's poorest children.
She realized that children needed to have healthy food to be able to learn, and so she started the school lunch program. And so many years later, here it is. It now has about 150,000 children in Connecticut that are using it alone.
In 1961, Isabelle Kelley was appointed to a special task force.
When Kennedy, as a candidate for president, went to West Virginia, he promised that he would establish a food stamp program. Isabelle became one of the 4 people charged with designing that program and implementing and evaluating it. Isabelle, in 1964, when the Food Stamp Act was passed and the program was made permanent, was named as the first director of a food stamp program in the Department of Agriculture. There had been other women in the research area, but Isabelle was the first woman director of an action program in USDA. It was very unusual to have a woman in a position of authority like that.
Kelley's leadership position at the USDA opened opportunities for other women and minorities.
I think being a female in charge of an operating agency like ours, it did change the view that other people working for her had of the possibilities for women. She also was very interested in hiring women. She was interested in moving women into management positions. She was also interested in moving other minorities, particularly African American, into positions of authority.
Under her leadership, the food stamp program's budget grew to $610 million by 1970, feeding 3.5 million Americans. One Washington Post article referred to Kelley as the world's richest woman.
I think her motivation in designing this program was to put forth a mechanism for helping people who can't afford to buy food, people that are hungry and malnourished, to help them to be able to get a step up, to get a diet that's at least adequate.
In 1973, Isabelle Kelley retired after a 33-year career at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Post-retirement, she remained involved in her field, consulting on a project at Georgetown University and frequently speaking at USDA events.
Today, I want to tell you about what led to the creation of FMS and the massive growth of the food programs in the 1970s.
She was someone who was widely respected throughout the department, respected by people in Congress, respected by people in the states. She was someone that you wanted to be better around because she was so good.
In 1997, Isabelle Kelley passed away at the age of 80, but her legacy lives on.
Isabelle Kelley's legacy is something that I see every day. I see children who are getting meals at school that may never have been able to. We're seeing whole families kept together in many ways because they have food.
It's interesting that a program that was designed in the 60s is still very relevant today. 1 in 7 Americans are participating in the food stamp program today. 45 million people each month, and that is an incredible number.
She made a profound difference in people's lives. She provided them with the opportunity to eat, to be healthy. She understood the moral responsibility of government to make a difference in people's lives.